With the Command & Conquer Remaster release being nothing short of perfection, it seems like EA managed to do something right. Good on ya! Please don't mess up this opportunity if at all possible, 007. So I have a simple question. Why no Darkreign Remaster, Activision? Looks like the RTS genre is ripe for remaster. Blech. Oh yeah, I forgot that was their fault. Darkreign is a forgotten gem that was released smack in between two Command & Conquer games, so it getting any attention at all is a miracle. The manual and in-game archive provide a nice amount of lore for Darkreign, too much to cover at once without sounding like exposition. The game takes place in the far future. A war rages between the Freedom Guard and the Imperium. The war comes to its end when the Imperium unleash their superweapon, the Desiccator, capable of roasting an entire planet with one shot, so they triple tap. Why not? The threat of the Desiccator was so great the Freedom Guard were all but disbanded. Coincidentally, Togra, a scientist-slash-philosopher type, was trapped on the planet that got turned to glass. He managed to launch a single emergency probe into space before the planet got hit. Now, you may be thinking, why am I skipping to the end here? But no, that's how this game starts. We join the protagonist? No. We join our faceless commander, that is the player character, some Togran refugee that happens to find the probe a few centuries after the fact. Turns out the Togra was on the verge of a discovery that would change the fate of the universe, and the probe was Plan B.
I've discovered something wondrous which may secure the fate of our people for all eternity. Only I am trapped here on a world torn by the Imperium Freedom Guard War, and I fear it is not long before I fall victim to the terror which surrounds me. This probe has been programmed to search for believers, should some tragedy occur which would seal my fate. Locked inside is a one-way portal to the past. Yet it can be used only once, so you must prove yourself. If you still believe, then accept this challenge and return to save me, for I will bear our people to a new plane of existence.
I'm kinda tempted to just have the intro play. Unlike Command & Conquer, there isn't a cutscene for every level. Even then, the production value is really good. I mean, have you seen that intro? It looks as good as early Westwood. In the future of war, your job is to prove yourself a master tactician before the probe will allow you to go back in time, which means beating each of the 12 levels as either the Freedom Guard or the Imperium. And yes, you can freely choose which faction to play in each mission. Each mission is simply a select piece of the Imperium Freedom Guard war. The first two missions for both sides is very simple. They play like skirmishes with low-tech levels and extra steps. Thankfully, later missions have interesting objectives. Honestly, I'd rather discuss the units than the starting missions themselves. We'll start with the Freedom Guard. Their basic dude with a gun is the Raider. A nice all-round unit that can phase into the ground once we unlock the phase facility in a later mission. They share this phase ability with the Merc, a railgun-toting lad that can shred mechanical units. The basic Imperium Trooper, the Guardian, doesn't do anything fancy sadly, but they still find use because they complement their silver body brothers quite well. On the vehicle side, the Spider Bike is a speedy all-terrain monster that I always forget exists. I use the Imp Scout Runner more, but mainly because they can abuse the harass behavior better than most units. On the tank front, the Skirmisher is a bit squishy, but can reach insane speeds, which is a theme you'll notice amongst most FG units. Speaking of hover vehicles, it's pretty much the Imperium's gimmick. Most of their vehicles can simply hover over flat terrain or water, and their mainline plasma tank is no exception. I don't think I've mentioned this yet, but the game has elevation. Walking units and certain wheeled units can climb steep hills no problem. Hover vehicles will however struggle to climb all but the most shallow inclines. Other notable mechanics include true line of sight, which with the elevation kind of don't work in a top-down perspective. But a more useful mechanic is the behavior grid, with which you can custom tailor aspects of your unit behavior. There are 3 default behaviors which work just fine without complicating your life, so I would recommend those. But enough of that, let's get to this campaign, dammit. Once you hit Prison Break, the game stops coddling you. Like big time. The Freedom Guard need to sneak a base near the Imp prison to save some civvies. We can grab a foothold by liberating fellow troopers. We get medics and mechanics along with some troops in the nearby camps, and finally 2 rigs from the last camp. Once you start getting settled, however, the imps start crashing at the doors. Luckily, we have some favorable terrain for PD turrets. I do not recommend running through this canyon, however. The main entrance is right there, and this crossroads is almost always filled with bions and tanks. Personally, I like cutting a hole in the wall to take out their factories, but I also took the crossroads for giggles. I need to discuss a small matter. While the AI in this game is fairly good, in fact very good, It's clearly also a bit temperamental. It's something to do with the quantity of units and orders being processed. Once you hit a certain number of units, they will start lagging behind their orders. This isn't always an issue, except for poor Fred the Merc, who wasn't given any processing power to defend himself. Well, once you breach the prison, it's smooth sailing. Just remember to liberate all the useless dudes while you're there. The Freedom Guard have cut apart the base and are prepping to escape, and during all that you have to deal with constant attacks. This mission always stands out in my mind because of how irritating it is. Don't let the efficacy of the laser turrets from the FGR for this mission fool you. PD turrets are annoyingly useless sometimes. They work best when enemies are forced into their field of fire, otherwise it's fairly simple to stay out of range and chip away at their health. And since we don't have enough walls to abuse line of sight, and I don't get long range defenses for another few missions, the best strat is to pressure the base while responding to the odd attack outside of turret range. Oh god, why? Did I mention this game is really loud, as in the sound design is crisp and clear? I can tell the difference between a single, double, and triple railgun by sound alone, but holy damn are the gun noises loud.
Under attack.
And hearing skirmishers poking at my base constantly is going to drive me insane. Piss off! Fight fair, you Freedom Guard coward! Just wait until we get our big tanks! So aside from killing all the annoying Freedom Guard, more for ruining my day than anything else, we need to hold these two sides so the prison convoy can't escape. They're hiding in the middle of their base, but that won't be safe for long. I didn't even get to talk about the Emperor.
Yeah, trust me.
See, the Imperium have hospitals but won't waste funds on medics for troops. Instead you get Emperors, weird robodocs that can inject allied infantry with a serum that boosts their health to max. The only downside is that the serum is toxic, so it'll soon begin eating away at them. Still, useful if your Emperor isn't having a slow day. Works better as a defensive unit than an assault unit in my experience. Oh, and if they reach the hospital in time, units can be cured of the toxins. The Terran occupation is next. The Imperium side, of course, is relentless. You need to set up your base while Freedom Guard forces spill into the city. We do get the Shredder to play with, and it certainly helps. See, the Shredder is a floating troop blender. It might as well have the power to transmogrify infantry to jam with pixie magic with how good it is at its job. Useless against non-infantry, but who cares? There isn't any time to get an assembly plant going before the first force arrives. Yeah, this level's been the cause of a few restarts. The strat that works for me is setting up a barracks ASAP and holding your position until you can start the push to the bridges on the east and south side. The Freedom Guard won't get any hover tech for a few more levels, so abusing the train is still a viable strategy. Until then, it's a constant battle for control of the city. Without the time to build tanks, I have to rely on soldiers to get the job done. The moment that first bridge goes down, the pressure drops enough for me to risk filtering tanks into my army, and once the second bridge falls, it's over. I can freely assault the FG base without retaliation.
Mission successful.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Killing the Freedom Guard isn't actually an objective, just securing the island and killing the civvies. The Freedom Guard half is tricky, but even worse, it's just a slog. The imps start using shredders, meaning no large squads of infantry. The faster you get the double factory going, the better. The game wants us to hold the bridges. For reasons previously mentioned, that's not a viable strategy. Sure, you'll stop infantry, but the plasma tanks couldn't care less about the bridges. And of course there's no Talon nearby to fuel my generator, so let's waste extra cash building more of those. The best part of this mission by far is once you've done enough damage to the Imperium base, the civilians start helping out. That's actually a really cool touch and almost makes up for the AI fuck up a few minutes ago where no one was moving, but I digress. I do think the design between both missions is interesting. One forces you to use vehicles because the infantry would just get shredded, the other forces infantry because tanks would take too long to build. The Kendrick Warder Assault is a doozy. Back in my youth, before the whole Master of DOS thing, I never passed these stages, especially the Freedom Guard half. Simple objective, just survive and collect 30,000 bucks. But the designers pull a nasty trick, they give you martyrs in this level.
Unit completed. Enemy engaged. Unit destroyed.
These are people who've been genetically altered by the Imperium to die at the age of 25, also known as the Marked. The idea was to quell organized rebellion by limiting the lifespan of dissident colonies, and Marked FG troops nearing the age of 25 are given a big bomb and become martyrs. And that makes them useless in a mission revolving around defense and saving money. In fact, the best unit for the job is the humble spider bike. It shines in this mission, it crosses hills effortlessly and is stupid fast, like I mentioned earlier. If you keep them repaired, you don't even have to waste as much money replacing them, and you ace the mission easy peasy. Practically speedrun this thing at like 9 minutes. Spider bikes also helpfully counter the new imp unit which you get in their half of the mission. Meet the plasma tank's big brother, Tachyon Tank. More like Big Brother that's obsessed with fitness and would die before his sibling got bullied by some Freedom Guard trash. Sadly, I can't speedrun this level the same way as the other. I went heavy into T-tanks and repair bay, so I don't have to pony up the 1500 per tank. And all it will take is a solid few pushes. Look at this, they outrange everything. And even then the map's all hills and valleys, meaning the AI can send infantry on cheeky flanks. Or so I thought. After I took out the main base, large swaths of troops were pouring in from somewhere in the middle of the map. Turns out there are 2 barracks on the hills well out of reach of my hover army. Be that as may, the T-tanks are just ridiculous. The pinnacle of imp ground tech. So far the game has tried to be clever, and while I may be as dense as a neutron star... Nope, got nothing. The game's only going to get trickier as we wrestle with the AI and mess with artillery units, but that will have to wait until next time, so see you then.